Harry and Meghan got to see their dear papa.
Yeah.
All in all, what a massive, huge success this trip was for Harry and Meghan.
Welcome
back.
Were you out of the country?
Full-time dad, British Army veteran, Prince of England, Duke.
So they got over there and she finally got what she wanted. She wanted time with the king. What is the point of marrying a Prince of England if you're not going to get FaceTime with the head royal in the palace?
I think that's very deliberate. I see this whole meeting less a family reunion and more of a test as to whether Charles can actually trust his younger son again.
Well, he's a dad. He wants reconciliation with his son, despite everything that's gone before it. And good on him for entertaining. Just keep fingers crossed that there are no leaks to the press. There's certainly no photographers around, and there were no photographers snapping his arrival.
And King Charles, it's always difficult. Like, I think many people can relate to this. If you have a sibling causing trouble in the family, I think the siblings are the first ones to want to do tough love, and the parent is the last one who wants to do the tough love, because we're all softies for our kids.
For 4 years, King Charles hadn't seen his grandchildren. No visits, no photos, just silence across an ocean. Then, on a quiet Friday afternoon in July 2026, that changed, and almost nobody knew it was happening until it was already over. Today we're breaking down what actually happened at Highgrove House, and why the secrecy around it tells you more than any photo ever could. On Friday, July 10th, King Charles and Queen Camilla welcomed Prince Harry, Meghan, and their 2 children, Archie and Lilibet, to Highgrove House, the King's private country residence in Gloucestershire. This wasn't a public engagement. There was no press pool, no official statement with details, no images released. Just a family meeting quietly away from cameras. So King Charles still can be manipulated by Harry, and certainly the promise of spending time with his grandchildren, of whom he doesn't have that many. He only has 2 sons. So he's got William's 3 kids and now Harry's 2, who he doesn't know hardly at all, was too much for him. And he agreed to see this family of Sussexes. This is actually not some huge win for the Duke and Duchess. Why?
Yeah, so Meghan desperately needs to remind the world that she is associated with royalty. Her deals have really dried up, and she didn't get any of those deals because of some talent. She got all those deals when she married him. She did not have a $100 million deal before she became the Duchess, and so she's figured out, she's not stupid. I've met Meghan several times. I've interviewed her over the years. She figured out that after everything failed, the way back is to remind the world again that she's a member of this royal family. It's so interesting to me. The one thing that makes her interesting is that she married a royal.
Here's what makes this reunion significant. It was the first time Charles had seen the whole family together since 2022, during the late Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Since then, Harry has made brief trips to the UK, his grandmother's funeral, his father's coronation, but always alone, always fast, always without his wife and kids. Archie and Lilibet, now 7 and 5, have essentially grown up without their grandfather in the room. So trying to run away from that is just a terrible brand strategy. It's an awful thing too, on a human level, on a family level. But I don't think for 1 minute she wanted to meet the king so that she could fix this family. I think it was a business decision, a business idea, and says she desperately wanted a photograph. We know the world we live in. We know the world of social media.
We want to see a picture of the king, of Meghan, of the children, of Harry, of everybody smiling. The palace said absolutely not. This is not a state visit. This is not even an official visit. This is a family visit. And so there's no photographs. And so because of that, I think that's the clearest example I have of why this didn't exactly work out the way she wanted it to. She wanted the king's embrace, and if she got that seal of approval, that good housekeeping seal of approval, she would be able to monetize that. She would be able to use that to her advantage. And the palace was very smart on this one. They said, come and meet him. He's an old man. He wants to meet the grandkids. He's a father here. He's not a king. He's a grandfather here. He's not a king. And because of all that, because of all the above,
there will be no official photographer there. There'll be no photographs leaked. And so I think here that she didn't exactly get what she wants, and she certainly didn't win. A lot of us were frightened that Meghan would be able to manipulate the king. But I think in this instance, nothing has changed. They met for an hour and a half. They had tea. They talked about stuff that had no big relevance. Small talk. There's no one better than the royal family for making chit-chat.
If ever you've been around the royals, they say nothing. It's like cotton candy. They just talk and they don't say anything. And so he can sit there for an hour and a half and say absolutely
It's an art
nothing.
form.
So if she went in wanting to have a peace plan or a rehabilitation plan or maybe get him to advertise her jam, I don't know. None of that happened. So they certainly didn't win.
So if the palace wanted to have a real reconciliation and to telegraph that to the world, what would they have done?
It would have been a photograph. They would have had a BBC camera crew there. They would have done this not out in the country. This was at an estate hours outside London. It would have been much more central. And so the fact it was at Highgrove, a beautiful place, a magnificent house to go to, it wasn't at an official palace. This is a private residence. It is owned by the royal family. It's not owned by the state. If they wanted to give a message that they're friends again, they would have had them visit them in Clarence House. They would have had them come to Buckingham Palace. I don't think they would have gone out on the balcony and waved to the crowd, but they would have had photographs taken. We would have had images of them arriving, smiling, leaving, and then afterwards they would have put out a statement saying how wonderful it was to see them again and to see the grandchildren. No statement, no photographs, nothing.
Meanwhile, has the king had any meaningful contact with these grandchildren since they were born? These two have had them shepherded away in Montecito, where they're spending lots of time with, who's the guy? Tyler Perry, their celebrity godfather. But their actual grandfather, they don't know him at all. And he doesn't know them.
Yeah, it's real cruel because he is a king, but he's still a human being and he is a man. And all my reporting on him throughout the years, and this is confirmed by other reporters too, he's a softie. He's quite a sweet guy. In fact, I think his softness can sometimes be used against him. He's a terribly decent man. Is he a strong man? Is he a man that you want in charge? Maybe not, but he's a very decent person. And for these two to be doing this to a man with cancer, he's doing better, thankfully. And nobody knows him better than his son. Harry knows all his weaknesses. He knows all the buttons to press. He would love to have a relationship with these grandchildren. He doesn't. They've Skyped, they've made some phone calls, but this wasn't what they wanted. They would love to be able to fix this on a family level, Meghan, but that's what the problem is here.
Harry and Meghan are not interested in fixing the family. They want a professional relationship. It's about the money. It's about the association. It's about being close to power. But get it from a very different place. And that's why we're never going to get a solution. Poor Thomas Markle. If only he had some money to offer them, maybe he too would get a visit from his daughter, so he could know his grandkids. But he's not going to get any phone call, is he? Because he doesn't wear a crown. What's almost funnier than the meeting itself is how British tabloids reacted to getting no information at all. Some outlets framed the lack of photos as Charles winning a PR battle against his son. Others ran reader polls, asking whether it was even appropriate for the king to meet his own grandchildren this way. It's a strange irony. The family's decision to keep something private became, itself, a headline-generating controversy, proving the exact point Harry and Meghan have made for years about UK tabloid culture. Strip away the palace intrigue and tabloid noise, and what you're left with is simpler. A grandfather met his grandchildren for the first time in 4 years. That's it. But because it's the royal family, that ordinary moment got wrapped in secrecy agreements, unnamed sources, and dueling narratives about who controlled the story. Whether this meeting signals a genuine thaw between Harry and his father, or was simply a one-off, tightly managed exception, remains to be seen. No further meetings have been announced, and the family has given no indication of what comes next.